Hello everyone, my name is Griffin and we are back with another reaction video. This time we are reacting to a video from Sydney Watson. She is a wonderful YouTuber, I love her videos. And this one is called Gaming Journalists Are a Disease. Now, when it comes to game reviews and such, I don't ever really trust gaming journalists. Mainly for the fact because they only play like an hour to 3 hours of the game and then they review it. So they know absolutely next to nothing about the entirety of the game. The only thing I only really trust people's opinion about a game is if they've really actually played the game and actually, played through the game. But I can't really trust gaming journalists because they just focus. Thank you. Because they just haven't really played the game at all. So, but let's see what Sydney has to say about this.
I would like for this to stop. Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Fume and Friendship. And because friends support one another, you should definitely go and check out my newly launched tea brand, Lion's Tea Exchange. Even if you're a coffee drinker, I suggest giving it a go because it tastes very, very good. And I put a lot of work into it, and I know my flavors are fire. We also have giant pyramid tea bags and use real tea leaves, and this is way, way better than one you get in the supermarket. You can find Lion's Tea Exchange linked in the description box.
I don't really much care
Get
for
around
tea.
it.
I prefer
Now,
coffee.
if there's one thing I think that we can all acknowledge, it's that the gaming industry is absolutely huge and is only continuing to grow. But as with lots of other creative media,
From what I know, if I remember this correctly, the one thing that makes the most gaming as a whole makes more money, I think, than all of movies and TV shows, I think, combined. Just because of how huge gaming is. I mean, gaming makes billions upon billions of dollars a year. Probably close to over $100 billion a year. I'm not exactly sure, but it makes more than movie and TV and any sort of other media.
it seems like it is slowly being infiltrated by ideologues who don't care about making good, fun games, but rather who want to push specific narratives and rhetoric onto a wider population.
Please stop.
In short, it's another industry that's been captured by activists. Or in the very least, a significant attempt is being made. So it's basically just modernity, but in pixel form. It's not great. Don't love it. Now, over the last few weeks, people have once again been reminded just how terrible gaming journalists actually are. And what is spurring that conversation?
I think people have known for years now just how horrible gaming journalists are. Almost nobody trusts a gaming journalist. They're about as bad as a movie journalist. I mean, you go on Rotten Tomatoes, the actual journalists, the critics rate it like a really good movie, they'll rate it at like 50% or below. But you look at the actual audience, they rate it at what it actually is. People don't trust the movie or gaming journalists because they're basically just people who are being paid to say what they're being paid to say, whereas actual viewers, which the people do trust, they see what they actually believe in the game, how they actually feel about the game, what they actually think about the game, their actual opinions on the game. I trust those over the actual journalists and the actual critics because they're being paid. They're being given a script and being paid to say those things on the script. So people trust the audience 100% more than they would ever trust a critic or a journalist.
Is all of this drama surrounding an outfit called Sweet Baby Inc., which is a narrative development
I've been hearing a lot of Sweet Baby Inc. I have no idea what they're about. I know nothing of them, so I don't know what the hell's going on.
And consultation studio from Canada. Canada just never sends their best, do they? This situation really went into overdrive when a video went viral showing the company's co-founder, Kim Belair, explaining how she forces video game execs to diversify and alter gaming projects she feels are problematic.
If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
This woman is basically the Ibram X. Kendi of video games, except without the degrees. Now, the response to this from many gaming publications was to defend Belair's words. One very notable example of this was an article published by Kotaku, which my brain keeps wanting to say as cockatoo, and I have to actively stop and be like, no, that's wrong. Like, I know it's wrong, but I want to say cockatoo.
I can understand that.
They ran a piece titled, "Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't do what some gamers think it does. No, the company isn't forcing diversity into all your favorite videos."
All right. Here's the thing that I think about this. When it comes to movies, games, shows, not everything out there needs to have diversity and inclusivity. Not everything needs that. There are some things where if you put the inclusivity or diversity into it, it makes it worse. I mean, there are some things, yeah, it can make it better with that stuff, but there are other things that if you put it in there, it will make it worse. It will make it horrible. Nobody will like it. Just, people need to understand not everything needs inclusivity. Not everything needs diversity. It doesn't. People don't seem to understand that. Just leave things alone.
Video games. The article uses a lot of words to say a lot of nothing, but ultimately tries to argue that
Sweet Baby Inc. isn't forcing diversity, it's happening naturally. Yes. Alright, diversity just doesn't happen naturally in a lot of things. Though these kind of social media posts argue that companies like Sweet Baby Inc. somehow force game studios to include diverse characters and storylines, the reality is vastly different. Sweet Baby Inc. is a narrative design company. I highly doubt that. Meaning most of its work is focused on writing stories and dialogue. If that was true, we'd have a lot, better games. A lot more well-written games. They are not a DEI consultant firm. I can't remember what DEI stands for. That means they ensure a game's plot point makes logical sense and are satisfying to players, and that characters speak and behave in consistent ways. Narrative designers may also provide a final round of polish, like a Hollywood script doctor. For example, the team worked on Suicide Squad long after the story was written, and even then they joined just to write in-game ads, audio logs, and NPC barks. CEO Kim. See, now, if they were focused on writing a good story and good dialogue, then the Suicide Squad game wouldn't have so much criticism about it. It wouldn't. If they were focused on writing good story and good dialogue, good characters, good character development, if they were just focused on that and not worrying about inclusivity and diversity, then a lot of games would be a lot better. People would be a lot happier with a lot of the games we have out there. But they're not, because there are plenty of games out there who have this political ideology forced into it, because and other things are having this diversity, this inclusivity, all this other stuff forced into the game just to appease certain people and certain demographics. Fuck that. That's the minority. Don't force things into something just to appease the minority of people. Screw all of that. Just make the game, make it a good story, make good dialogue, make good characters, make good character development, make all this stuff, and you'll have good shit. If it doesn't include something that they wanted it, that the minority wanted to be in the game, well then you know what? Fuck them. Boo-hoo, cry about it.
Sweet Baby Inc. isn't pushing diversity, it's happening naturally, and they aren't solely responsible for the terrible DEI decisions that everyone universally hates. But this isn't the first time that gaming publications and gaming journalists have run interference for terrible companies, all while throwing gamers themselves under the bus. And the net effect of this is that people are once again laser focused on how crap gaming—
Yeah, there's another thing, like there are some games where they force same-sex relations, they force LGBT items into it, flags, they force these woke ideologies. Look, I got nothing against these things. If there's like gay love in it, if there's some sort of LGBT stuff in it, that's fine. I got nothing wrong with it. I got no problem with it. Just don't force it in there for the sake of it being in there, just to appease people. That's when you start having a problem. If it naturally goes into the story, then that's fine. People start having a problem when you force it into there.
Journalism is. Not only because they spend an inordinate amount of time defending DEI and similar initiatives and pushing progressivism into the industry when nobody asked for it, but also just generally, they don't really seem to know the first thing about gaming.
The way he leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
And if this Sweet Baby Inc.
What? It's Spider-Man. Spider-Man is very acrobatic. It doesn't make anything to do with the color of his skin or his age or anything. It's fucking Spider-Man. If he wants to do flips, tricks, and other shit, he can do it.
Debacle has taught us anything, it's that lots of these publications and writers spend more time pushing progressive ideology than they do creating meaningful reviews and commentary for other gamers. These people literally get paid to play games and write about them, or go to conventions and write about them. That's basically the entire job, with the occasional industry news to cover. And yet, in spite of that, gaming journalists have instead earned a reputation for being not good at their jobs, and actually taking it a step further, may actively resent and despise the industry and the audience they are intended to serve. So that's what we are going to talk about today, why gaming journalism is a disease. And of course, all of my regular disclaimers. This is by no means an exhaustive video, and some of this will be based on my opinion and observation, and you don't have to agree with that, and it's okay if you don't. But with all of that said, and given how depressing a lot of gaming journalism has become, it's always nice to feel some joy in your life. And there's no one better to bring you joy than today's sponsor, Fume. There are lots of reasons it's hard to be zen. Impending Sydney, or click the—
Sorry, Sydney. I not to sound mean to you, but I just don't care about the sponsor.
link in the description, or scan the when you buy a journey pack. Now, obviously, there are lots of reasons why gaming journalism is a mess, and has been for some time. But first, I want to set the stage for you by taking you back to 2017. A game journalist called Dean Takahashi, who was the lead writer for GamesBeat at VentureBeat, released a video of himself playing through a game called Cuphead. Cuphead is a side-scrolling run-and-gun indie game drawn in the style of 1930s cartoons. It was incredibly well received due to its—
I heard that this game was so fucking difficult. Like it was just so difficult, but I heard it was a really well done game. But it was also rage inducing.
hand-drawn animation, increasingly challenging boss fights, and generally how fun most people reported it was overall. So when Takahashi, a veteran gaming journalist, released his review of the game and deemed it very difficult, and posted his playthrough video which showed him having immense trouble even getting through the game's tutorial, other gamers were confused. And then they were mad. Confused and mad. My perpetual state. Takahashi wrote, "It turns out it's harder than it looks, and that is part of its appeal. While my performance on the captured video below is quite shameful, as I never finished the level, I think it shows quite well why Cuphead is fun and why making hard games that depend on skill is like a lost art." Honestly, I'm not even gonna judge this guy. You have all watched me struggle and suffer trying to get through the first hour of Dead Space. Although my situation was more due to paralyzing fear, not being generally
I love
terrible
Dead Space.
at gaming. But still, I'm not in a position to judge anyone. What the f is this music? Oh my god, I don't like. Ah! My apologies for the redness.
Oh god, yeah. I love how terrified some people get at that first interaction with the necromorphs.
On my chest, Murphy just decided to jump up and maim me. Oh, ugh. Now, the video of Takahashi's failure went viral, and the backlash to his review was very swift, spurring on discussions across the internet about the death of gaming journalism. With Gamergate only a few years in the rearview mirror, this was yet another point of insight for gamers into the very people who were reporting on and writing about the games they play. In response, Takahashi wrote a really odd, very long essay about the backlash he experienced, some of which was obviously not okay. Color me crazy, but I don't really think there's a point in death threatening a dude just because he sucks at platformers.
This is... Okay. When it comes to gaming, people need to chill the fuck out. You seem to forget, it's just a game. It's not going to be the end of your fucking life. It's just a game. Not everybody's going to be as good or as bad at it as you are. Everybody has differing opinions on the game that they play. That Takahashi guy has his own opinion on the game. That's just his opinion. It's not fact or anything. You can disagree with it all you want. That's fine. We're human beings. We can have disagreements. We can have discussions. We can have debates. But it is just a fucking game. I don't understand how people get so worked up over a review of a game that they have to send death threats. You people need to go out and touch fucking grass. Seriously, come on. What is the point of sending a death threat to somebody over something that you disagreed with? It is fine to disagree with somebody. People can have all the criticisms they want towards something that they feel towards something. That's fine. The instant you get to the point where you send a death threat to the person, you need fucking help. Go seek help, because you seriously need it. It is just as bad as the guy who made Flappy Bird. He got thousands of death threats just from a phone game. I mean, seriously, guys, come on. It was a phone game. A phone game. You're getting upset over something from this? I sometimes think we as a society need a hard reset. People are just getting way too fucking worked up over this shit. It's just a game. It's not your life. If the game does bad, if somebody has a differing opinion about the game than you do, it's not going to affect your life in any way, shape, or form. Get over it. Get on with your life. Harden the fuck up.
I also very much suck at platformers. I feel like I'm just outing myself here. I kept falling off the same ledge repeatedly playing It Takes Two, and I am a little ashamed of that. In his essay, Takahashi seemed to simultaneously acknowledge how dreadful he is, while also insisting that he's more competent than the average gamer, and that people really shouldn't have been mean to him. The whole thing felt very self-aggrandizing while simultaneously being super self-pitying. It's also worth noting that after Takahashi went viral for Cuphead, people started digging into his past reviews and found that it wasn't the first time he had demonstrated his insane incompetence in the gaming sphere. He'd previously slammed Mass Effect because he wasn't aware of a...
Okay. Mass Effect, in my opinion, the first 3 Mass Effects were wonderful. I mean, I love Mass Effect. It is one of my favorite games of all time. I was highly disappointed with Andromeda because I found out why Andromeda didn't do so well. Because nobody from the original team from the original Mass Effect trilogy was on Andromeda. I mean, hell, even my favorite race, the Asari, looked worse than in the original Mass Effect trilogy. They made them look worse. They made them look a little uglier. I mean, come on. It's the Asari. But if they had the original team working in Andromeda, I feel that it would have done so much better. But I love Mass Effect. It is a wonderful series. I highly recommend playing Mass Effect 1 through 3. I know the ending for 3 was disappointing for a lot of people, but it is still a great game. I highly recommend playing the trilogy. You can decide on playing Andromeda if you want, but, you know, it's a 50-50 for that one.
Gaming functionality that already existed. So yeah, good try there, buddy.
And I pity you. Is that what the village idiot?
Following the whole Cuphead debacle, the general incompetence of gaming journalists began to take an even more prominent role in gaming discourse. And just to be clear here, not all of this incompetence revolves around pushing woke narratives and rhetoric and whatnot, which we will cover shortly. But some of it just boils down to the fact that these journalists are just not good at their job. I will illustrate this by giving you 2 examples. The first is from a few years ago, and similar to the Cuphead incident, a gaming journo from GameSpot complained that the SpongeBob SquarePants game was too difficult. This game was made, if my understanding is correct, for actual children, like the very small humans who lack fine motor skills. In his video review, this journalist showed a complete lack of understanding of basic gaming mechanics and subsequently was roasted for it. Bullying adult men on the internet for playing children's games badly. Beautiful.
The last child game I played, I think, was Freddy Fish. And I still have very fond memories of Freddy Fish. I loved the Freddy Fish series. It was such a wonderful game. I loved playing this. There was my godmother, who, rest in peace, has passed away, and my mom both set up Freddy Fish on my godmother's computer. They tried playing it for 2 hours. They couldn't beat it. And they let me on it, and probably about a half hour to an hour later, I told them I beat it. I don't think I got everything in the game, but I beat the game, and they were like, how the hell did you do that? I was like, I don't know. I love Freddy Fish. There was also Putt Putt. Oh, I loved Putt Putt. Anyone from the millennial generation, I recommend going to check out Putt Putt and Freddy Fish. They are wonderful children games. Even as an adult, they're just a nostalgia trip.
Beautiful. The second example took place in 2019. Another journalist from the publication Kotaku, called Laura Kate Dale, claimed that a disability slur appeared in the lyrics of a song featured in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. While the original article has been deleted, the internet is forever, and Dale asserted at around 1 minute 57 of the song, it appears the term retarded.
Let's see, in the track, wake up, get out of there. Get out there, sorry. If you skip to around 1 minute 48 seconds into the track, you'll reach a section of the song where words are softly spoken rather than sung, At around 1 minute 57 seconds, it appears the term retarded is used and followed up by the assertion that I can say it. The official lyrics for the song, curiously enough, does not include the spoken words section. This is our transcript of what's said. People, it's a word. It has two different meanings. I find it hilarious. The only time I can excuse people getting offended over a word is if it's, you know, race based. You know, like the N word. Or the C word. C-H-I-N-K, I think it's spelled. But, you know, a word for different races that's supposed to be insulting. But this is retarded. It just means stupid. It doesn't mean... The thing with this word, you can't always... People have been saying it for so long. I'm surprised it's just nowadays people have been getting so offended by that word. It's not like we're going around to, you know, mentally challenge people and calling them that and being insulting to them. People take the word way too goddamn seriously.
It is used, and followed up by the assertion that I can say it. This didn't go down so well for Dale or the outlet, given that people were quick to accuse both of racism, as the song was written by a native Japanese speaker, and the words retort it had been mispronounced in the recording. Even though Dale admitted in the article to having a copy of the official lyrics, which just by the way didn't include any offensive language, this individual and this publication still pushed forward with publishing a story that accused Nintendo of slipping offensive language into a song. Kotaku later apologized.
Retarded is not offensive language. The only time language becomes offensive is if you're deliberately trying to be offensive towards a certain people or towards a certain person. That is the only time it is offensive. If just saying the word out of nowhere in an innocent way, somebody says, I find this offensive. Oh, good for you. The thing is, you're speaking language. No matter what you say, you have to risk offending somebody. It's just going to happen. Somebody's going to find something offensive for some stupid, dumbass reason. And you know what? That's fine. If you want to be offended, go be offended. It's not going to affect how I go about my life. It's not going to affect how you go about your life either. Just because you find something offensive does not mean that it is actually offensive. If the majority finds what you say offensive, then yeah, it is probably offensive. But if just a singular person or a small group or a minority of people find it offensive, then it probably really isn't.
But has since deleted that apology, so that's fun. Laura Kate Dale, who happens to be transgender, left Kotaku soon after this whole incident, but is still
you could tell by the blue hair.
Extremely active in the gaming industry and appears now to be some sort of diversity and queer consultant for the space with blockbuster initiatives such as Accessibility, a place to discuss how gaming can be more accessible to people with disabilities. Is stuff like this the reason that there's a setting in Horizon Forbidden West where you can make the water less murky to deal with thalassophobia? This is an oddly specific thing to tell the internet, but I 100% have this phobia. I cannot look at photos of the internet. Photos of the internet? Photos of the ocean because it gives me legitimate anxiety. But even I played Forbidden West the way that it was intended. Suffering in the water. Pre-exposure therapy. Now, while it's all well and good to talk about the technical incompetencies of gaming journalists, about which I could make an entire video, the way in which gaming journalism has become synonymous with ideological capture is a totally different beast. Much of this dates back to the Gamergate incident, where questions around corruption in gaming journalism quickly spiraled into a global conversation about both forced feminism in the gaming industry and ethics in gaming journalism. Gamergate was wild from top to bottom, beginning with 2 women in the industry being called out for using sex to further their gaming initiatives. But rather than meaningfully addressing these concerns, the conversation quickly got out of hand, leading to not one, but probably a dozen online gaming publications declaring
the death of the gamers and the women who killed them. Huh? Proves point a certain gamer type refuses. What?
But probably a dozen online gaming.
How to stop misogynists from terrorizing the world of gamers. Bashing women remains a favorite pastime of many male gamers. It's time for that to... I can tell you it's not the majority. I mean, it's not the majority that are like this. I mean, most of the places you'll probably find this is like, you know, maybe CS:GO or Siege, maybe League, Call of Duty, you know, those type of games. That's where you'll mainly find it. Anywhere else in the gaming sphere, you will probably rarely run into it, because the majority of men more than welcome female gamers. I mean, I welcome it. Hell, some of them are even way better than me and will kick my ass. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with anybody that wants to play a game. Just don't be a dick.
Publications declaring that gamers are dead and attacking the very people.
The end of gatekeeping, the extinction bursts of gaming culture.
Who pay their bills. All the while, attention was endlessly diverted away from the original complaints about the industry, that corruption existed, there were many, many conflicts of interest, and none of it was being addressed. Following Gamergate, there became a greater awareness for the fact that there was a large push happening for video games to adopt and adapt to certain sensibilities, specifically those of ultra-progressive people who demanded video games be made more representative. And over the years, a number of groups have emerged to fill that very purpose. And of course, one that is all the rage right now is Sweet Baby Inc., who I mentioned earlier. Sweet Baby Inc., sometimes called SBI, actually first appeared on the radar in February, but only...
Let's see, founded in 2018, Sweet Baby Inc. is a narrative development and consultation studio based on Montreal and working around the globe. Our mission is to tell better, more empathetic stories while diversifying and enriching the video games industry. We aim to make games more engaging, more fun, more meaningful, and more inclusive for fuck's sake. Like I said before, towards the beginning, not everything needs diversifying or inclusivity. Not everything needs it. If you believe everything needs it, then you are part of the problem. This is why a lot of shit is becoming worse. Movies, TV shows, games, stories. They're becoming worse because you are trying to force diversity and inclusivity in these things where it does not need to be. Now, like I said, some things, yes, it could probably improve the story, the game, the movie, the TV show, whatever, and what have you. It could probably improve it. But a lot of it doesn't need it at all. In fact, it makes it, more cringe. It makes it worse. It hurts it. It's the reason why it's making it worse. It's because it's being forced down the viewer's throat. Just fuck off.
recently has gained massive pushback. Like I said at the beginning of this,
We believe you need diverse voices to solve diverse problems. No, you don't. Sweet Baby Inc. provides narrative consultation at any stage development, boasting a talented team with vetted industry experience to best bring your story to life.
this video, it is a narrative development company, which offers consultancy to gaming development studios on the issues of diversity and representation.
He almost looks like oh, it's a wrestler. I know, I can't remember his name right now. He's married to Becky, I think her name was. He was in the group that was known as S.H.I.E.L.D. I can't remember his name, but he kind of looks like him right here.
Many releases, such as the notable Suicide Squad and God of War Ragnarok, have had Sweet Baby credited as part of the writing staff. Suicide Squad in particular was a huge disappointment in the gaming world. A Sweet Baby Inc. credit now is kind of like gaming leprosy. Not gaming leprosy as in beating leprosy, as in having leprosy and being avoided. Like it's medieval England and you have to live on a leper colony island because everyone hates you. I have been filming for way too long and things start to get weird at about this time. I'm sorry. In January 2024, after noticing what appeared to be forced diversity in games he enjoyed, a Steam user by the name of Cabrutus began curating a list of all the games in which SBI had involvement. In an interview he recently gave, he said that it was a few months before the release of Suicide Squad. I started noticing patterns in some games, like ugly women and male characters being weakened to make female characters look stronger. The first game that SBI worked on—
Yeah, that's another thing that wokeness has done when it comes to movies, TV shows, and games. They've basically beaten down or weakened the male character just to make the female character look stronger or make the female character better or what have you. The thing is, you don't need to do that. There are plenty of female protagonists who have done massively well without having to beat down the male characters. One of my all-time favorites is Ripley from the Alien series. That, in my opinion, is one of the most badass female protagonists in a movie. She's just badass. And another one would be the first two Tomb Raider movies with Angelina Jolie. She was a badass female character in that one. Another one would be Alice from the Resident Evil movie series. She was badass, and they didn't have any of those three ones. They didn't have to put down any of the male characters just for them to be badass. They were already badass. And, you know, oh, it's just another one. Ada Wong, another badass female character. I hate that they've had in a lot of these things, they've let wokeness take over to the point where they just put down male characters just to make the female characters look better. You don't have to do that at all.
On where I noticed this kind
just
of
write the
stuff
character
was God
better.
of War Ragnarok. I think anyone who played God of War 3 would find it really weird when Kratos decided to spare Thor and says, "We must be better." That simply didn't fit the character.
For the sake of our children.
There's a reason why he did that. People don't seem to understand his character growth. I can't explain it. There was another video that explained his character growth very well. There's a reason why he is this way. Because he wants to be better. His character development is just, in my opinion, it's wonderful.
We must be better.
Yeah, that checks. Jokes aside for a second, this is a big agree for me because I love...
I guarantee you, though, if one of the gods actually killed Atreus, he would have reverted back to the God of War trilogy, the Kratos from the God of War trilogy. He would have reverted back to that because he would have been so severely pissed.
God of War, but I hated God of War Ragnarok. And if you follow me on Twitter, you probably know that I tweeted a little bit about how much I hated it, and everybody completely roasted me, and they were like, no, you're wrong. And I was like, no, I'm not. And it's nice to know that other people also noticed how basically every character in the game had their personality obliterated in order to force this bizarre acceptance lovey-dovey crap that I just didn't make any sense. It made no sense for anyone. You're talking about pantheons of gods who are just not forgiving people, like in any capacity. And you mean to tell me that suddenly they're all like, no, we have to be better. Let's embrace all of our flaws. No! You're so wrong! And I'm still not over what they did to Brock, and quite frankly, Angraboda is completely wrong. Following the widespread dissatisfaction, and that's honestly putting it mildly, with the release of Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, Kubrutus launched his SBI detector, which listed games that had SBI involvement. It quickly gained a following of hundreds of thousands of Steam users, and reignited the debate surrounding forced diversity in gaming. And since all of this began, gaming journalists have spent more time attacking gamers themselves, and this Kabrutus fellow personally, rather than looking at what's causing people's displeasure in the first place. Even when the co-founder of Sweet Baby Inc. is saying things like this.
We work very hard to get marginalized talent into the industry, to protect them the way that we would want to have been protected.
Okay, here's the thing. Don't get somebody just because they're marginalized. Don't get somebody for a job just because you need to diversify or because you want to get somebody who's marginalized. No, get somebody who is best for the job despite who or what they are. That's all you need to do. Get somebody who fits the job the best. Don't go for somebody just to diversify. Don't go for somebody just to be inclusive. Don't go for somebody just because they're marginalized. Go for somebody who fits the job the best.
Protected, to lift them up and to get them into an industry where they're too often shut out. And basically, I think to take over in the hopes that some really dope people will be able to lead into kind of a new era for an industry that's been kind of, the same way too long.
But despite Sweet Baby Inc. currently being the subject of everybody's ire, it is certainly not the only consultancy firm to have its thumb in the video game pie. Two other semi-notable, but mostly just hilarious examples that I have to give you are No Pixels for Fascists and GamerX, spelled G-A-Y-M-E-R. I guess subtlety is not a strong suit. Back in 2020, it was uncovered that the Electronic Arts Berlin office had entered into a disturbing partnership with an anti-fascist group run by a former Stasi agent to monitor racism in the gaming community. And as for GamerX, well, this is an LGBT consultancy firm which offers workshops and diversity training in the tech industry.
Hang on, let's see here. GamerX is proud to offer consulting and training services to the game industry as part of our mission to support and celebrate the Alphabet Mafia, people and culture in games. We offer and select a selection of the Alphabet Mafia centered training curricula, I believe that's how it's pronounced, as well as customized solutions designed to advance diversity, equality, visibility, and inclusion in gaming, which not all of gaming needs. We serve individuals and businesses working in the video game and tabletop gaming industry, including independent game developers, game studios of all sizes, publishers, media outlets, and more. Not everything needs diversity, equity, and visibility and inclusion. Not everything needs it. And not everything needs the Alphabet Mafia. At this point, why don't you all just include the entire alphabet? Because every year you guys seem to add another letter for something that's just made up. Like, for instance, let's go with LGBT. Lesbian and gay. They're the same thing. Just go with G. Gay. There. Bisexual. That's its own thing. Yeah. Trans. Okay. Queer. Isn't that just gay? Why don't we just put that under gay? I don't know what I or A stands for. It's just all you need is GBT.
LGBT consultancy firm which offers workshops and diversity training in the tech industry. It worked on the zombie franchise Dead by Daylight to bring the first gay character to the game for some reason.
First gay character. I don't know which one it was. I don't know if it was it a killer? That was the gay character? Was it I can't remember her name, but it was the lady with the claws and uses the drones. I don't know, it might have been her.
People were confused by this, and despite the fact that I will never play this game due to my
DVD did not need it. In any way, shape, or form did not need it, because all the game is you trying to survive and escape, and the other person's trying to kill you. No diversity or inclusivity is needed in a game like that. It just doesn't need it.
Immense fear of the undead, I will be confused along with them in solidarity. I still do not know or understand why sexuality becomes the focal point during a zombie apocalypse. I'm looking at you, Last of Us show. Now, some of you by this point are probably wondering, but Sydney, what does all of this have to do with gaming journalism and all of this weird progressivism that's invading the space? Well, I am of the belief, and this is my opinion, that none of this progressive sludge would be so easily achieved were it not for gaming journalists manufacturing this generalized consent for this ideological takeover. When you have non-stop articles being churned out about how certain games are terrible, about how they're racist or sexist or fill-in-the-blank phobic, you're going to get gaming companies, which are corporations at the end of the day, doing things to ensure that their next product doesn't make headlines for being problematic. In addition to that, you have journalists shaping the opinions of lesser involved gamers, or even the wider non-gaming population. Not to mention, all of this continues to normalize this wider societal preoccupation with making everything inclusive and tolerant and representative and progressive. A good example of this is Rockstar being pressured to edit out transphobic.
In new gen GTA 5, GTA O, whatever that is, Rockstar appeared to have disabled the trans caricatures. Okay. Or drag queens from spawning outside cockatoos, whatever that is. This could be following a plea from Out Making Games last year. I hope this provides comfort to anyone who felt these NPCs depicted harmful stereotypes. What? Again, okay. You don't need to do shit just to appease the minority. If they have a problem with it, then they have a problem with it. Oh well, boo fucking who. It's just a fucking game, people.
Content from GTA 5. Ah yes, the problem with the video game that lets you run over strippers is obviously the trend.
I'm surprised anybody has a problem with GTA like that. I mean, do you have any idea the shit you can do in GTA?
Phobia. Nailed it. I can't believe they put this in the game. This is a special moment. Another example is Capcom being denounced as
RE5 is too racist for a remake? What? How is it racist? logically explain to me how Resident Evil 5 is racist.
Was racist for Resident Evil 5. Or all these bloody articles.
Link is a trans character in whatever way we want them to be? What? If they're talking about Zelda, Link is not trans. Link is a human dude. Well, I don't know if every iteration of Link is a human, but Link is not trans. In no way, shape, or form is he trans.
That claim that Link is non-binary. Why are there so
He's not non-binary. Oh my fucking god.
many of
Oh, these people, I swear to god.
these? This weird parasitic relationship between gaming companies and gaming journalists and gaming publications is almost like a racketeering scheme. Video game journalists kick up a fuss about
It's 10 years since Gamergate. The industry must now stand up to far-right trolls.
an imaginary bigotry that no one really cares about to serve as a warning to game developers who then hire the consultancy groups to try to avoid being the next fuss kicked up. Again, these gaming companies are corporations and they have shareholders to please, advertisers to swoon, and funding to secure. It's sort of akin to paying the mafia for protection. Sure, once in a while they might save your butt from a rival gang, but mostly it's you paying them to not bust your kneecaps in for the time being. And it's very clear that there is a
Company called SBI has become the target of anti-woke gamers because it offers consultancy work and industry standard service that's been normal for years. Right.
a lot of overlap between these consultancy firms and gaming journalists, who almost always seem to rush into
Why are Valve and Discord permitting harassment against Sweet Baby Inc? Maybe Sweet Baby Inc brought it upon themselves.
defend them at a moment's notice when their motives or impact
If you're harassing game devs and journalists because an individual developer called out an intentionally incendiary Steam group, then you really need to come back down to earth. A few people with large followings are stoking the fires for money and engagement. That's it.
come under fire by gamers. Sweet Baby Inc. is not the first time this has happened, and it certainly won't be the last. Something else that I would like to note, although I'm not super sure how relevant this is, but I feel like I should mention it, is that there are a handful of companies, of larger companies, who own a bunch of these gaming publications. One example of this is Valnet Inc., who heads The Gamer, Screen Rant, CBR, and so on. I'm not entirely sure what there is to do with that information, but now you have it. So enjoy. Ultimately, one of the questions here that will inevitably come up is, why does this happen? Journalism in and of itself is an inherently left-wing field, and by the US's standards, a very small percentage of journalists even identify as conservative or right-wing. But more importantly, the journalists that we are talking about really seem to hate their audience from a demographic standpoint. They have said as much in the countless articles decrying racism and sexism and the whatever phobia that is associated with gamers and gaming culture. They spend a tremendous amount of time attacking the primary demographic they're supposed to represent, and honestly, that actually feels quite unique to this particular industry. They just keep Gilletting themselves.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
Yeah, really had to go into the archive for that one. Ultimately, I think a lot of this comes from the fact that you had an inherently liberal space open up, a bunch of people clamor in who had a bone to pick with the existing demographic, whether for valid reasons or not, and use their platform as a way to manipulate and impose their own ideas of what gaming should be and what games should include. Whenever I make these sort of videos, I always get emails and comments from people who work in gaming development who have obviously way more insight than I do. But one thing that I have repeatedly been told is that because the gaming industry is so big and because so much money is involved in a single game, it is imperative that that game appeals to a wider audience, which means that although progressivism is making its way into the industry, it's happening at a much slower rate. So with this in mind, and for me personally, I really do find it quite amazing just how many gaming publications and gaming journalists are openly and aggressively left-wing and progressive progressive, because I'm not really sure who they're appealing to. I miss the days when video game journalism took place in actual video game magazines like Nintendo Power, and the one thing that they were bitching about was how it's cheating to play as Oddjob in GoldenEye. I want to round this video
Yeah, there was a universal rule. Nobody picks Oddjob.
out with something a little bit positive, for those of you who are just like me, who want the gaming but without the politics. The good news here is that no matter what these gaming journalists do and say, it seems that a massive population of gamers simply don't care.
We do not care.
They complained that Hogwarts Legacy was enabling transphobia, and the game was a massive blockbuster. They complained that Kingdom Come: Deliverance was racist, despite it being set in 13th century Europe, and the game sold over 1 million copies. They complained that one of my favorite games, despite how much the angels scare me, Far Cry 5, was not politically sensitive enough, and it became the second biggest Ubisoft launch. It has never been more clear that these people fundamentally do not understand gamers or what is of interest to them or what they want. But it's also never been more clear that the majority of us do not care about that and will continue to enjoy the games that these people continue to trash. This obviously does not fix the problem of the creeping progressivism and these insane consultancy firms, but it is something. And in the end, I for one think it's a good thing that a lot of gamers continue to do what they want to do in spite of all of the negativity come from the gaming journalism field. And at least for now, I think that is a pretty damn good thing. Now, before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Fume using the link in the description. When you do and you use code Sydney, you'll get 10% off a journey pack. And also don't forget to check out Lions Tea Exchange, my little brand, using the link in the description as well. It really does mean a lot to me that so many of you have had such a wonderful and positive reaction to it and that you love the tea. It makes me extremely happy because I really did work so hard on this. So you ordering and your feedback really, really is so meaningful to me. Now, open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you a gamer who just wants these gaming publications to go away? Do you agree with them? Are you a gamer who thinks that they're actually onto something and that we should be making changes in the industry? What do you make of these consultancy firms like Sweet Baby Inc. and the whole debacle surrounding that firm and all the criticism that's been directed their way? Do you agree with my assessment that this is sort of a weird parasitic relationship between gaming companies, consultancy firms, and gaming journalism? That it's a mafia-esque situation? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. You know, I love having you along for the ride. It's always good to have you here. If you are not subscribed already and you would like to see more of this and more of what I do, feel free to hit the button and also give this video a like and a comment. I read the majority of your comments and I always like hearing your feedback. And of course, stay safe and well, make good choices, and I will see your pretty faces in the next video.
So yeah, that was gamer journalists are a disease, and I would have to agree. They are pretty much a disease on the gaming universe as a whole. I would like to know what you all think about this. I think, like I said in the beginning, gaming, movies, TV shows, pretty much any sort of media does not always need inclusivity, diversity, wokeness. It doesn't need it. All it's been doing so far is pretty much making things worse, making things unplayable, unwatchable. It's just, as a whole, been a disease. So, but I would love to hear your opinions. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. This is just, yeah. Anyways, hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe for more. I post Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And make sure to go check out my other platforms. The links to all my social medias, all my other platforms that I'm on will be in the description below. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.